Humans are the only animals to drink milk up to adulthood. Why did this strange adaptation occur, and why do we drink the milk of other animals? Seems pretty weird when you think about it, but there is an easy explanation. There happens to be a very interesting story behind all of this. A fascinating fact is that most of the world's population cannot drink milk up into adulthood or past childhood. Everyone is born with the enzyme lactase fluorase and hydrolase to digest our mother's milk when we are infants. However, many of us lose this enzyme in our guts past childhood and can no longer drink milk. Lactose intolerance is much more common than lactase persistence, which is the ability to digest milk up into adulthood. 75% of the world's population is lactose intolerant, which means only 25% can enjoy milk. Let's get into why and when humans first developed the ability to drink milk into adulthood. The first instance of this adaptation occurred around 9,000 years ago. This is when humans started domesticating animals, such as goats and cows in the Middle East and in North Africa. Before this time, there was no need to drink milk past early childhood because we simply did not have access to it once we were weaned from our mothers. Once people had cattle and other domesticated animals, they started consuming their milk and their meat. Logically, natural selection would have favored those with the mutation that kept the lactase digestion gene switched on throughout their lives. This mutation spread to Europe and to other parts of Eurasia, in some places much more than others. High frequencies of lactase persistence are correlated with populations that have a history of being pastoralist. Pastoralists are people that keep livestock and do not farm. The population of Northern Europe have an ancestry of being pastoralist. This is why many Northern European countries, and countries with Northern European descent, have a high percentage of people who are lactase persistent. In many countries such as England and Sweden, this percentage is over 90. As you get closer to the Mediterranean, and further away from the ancient funnel beaker culture of Northern Europe, this percentage falls to 50. In China, where there is little to no history of pastoralist, the percentage of the population that is lactose tolerant drops to only 5%. Many African ethnicities vary in their ability to digest milk up into adulthood. Let's get into the genetic mutation that allowed us to drink milk past childhood in the first place. Those who are lactose tolerant in Europe and Asia all share the same unit allele, T13910. Interestingly, those who are lactose tolerant in Africa do not have this gene, and yet they can still drink milk up to adulthood. How did this happen if they do not share the same mutation? Molecular studies indicate that lactase persistence evolved independently in Africa from Europe. This is an example of convergent evolution within our own species, and maybe one of the only known instances of it. In case you don't know, convergent evolution is the process where different populations or species arise to a similar adaptation independently. Think of bats and birds. They both have wings with pretty similar structures. A cool example of convergent evolution is Thylacosmilus, an extinct marsupial that looked almost exactly like a feline or a smilodon. Marsupials and placental mammals split around 65 million years ago, so they are not related, but they have very similar features, as you can see. That was a fun detour, but back to the main topic now. It is estimated that the lactase persistence gene originated much later in Africa, around 2,700 to 6,800 years ago. This is very consistent with archaeological data of when pastoralism reached areas of sub-Saharan Africa. The main allele responsible for lactase persistence in Africa is C14010, but there could also be a couple more. This would further indicate convergent evolution, which is just fascinating. So you might be wondering, what advantage was there in stealing animal baby milk? The adaptation of drinking milk would have been very advantageous to these African populations, because milk is not only a good source of protein and carbohydrates, but water as well. This would have been very adaptive for Saharan and sub-Saharan environments, where water is a very scarce resource. Some genetic evidence even indicated that those with this mutation were more likely to leave 10 times the descendants of those that did not have it. The Beja people, who wander the lands between the Nile and the Red Sea, rely almost entirely on the milk of their camels and goats for water and nutrients. They drink around 3 liters of fresh milk during the 9-month-long dry season. This demonstrates just how advantageous this lactase persistence gene can be. Okay, let's recap what we learned. We learned when humans first started drinking milk, which was around 9,000 years ago in the Middle East, and then 2,700 to 6,800 years ago in sub-Saharan Africa. We also learned why humans drink milk. It is an evolutionary advantage, especially in regions where water and other nutrients are scarce. We also learned that lactase persistence has independently evolved at least twice within our species. The recentness of this adaptation proves that humans are always evolving. Alright guys, that's about it. Thanks for watching, and I hope you learned a great deal about our evolutionary relationship with milk. Please leave any comments, I would love to answer them. Or you could also like the video or subscribe to the channel. Alright guys, thanks again.